Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Comdo Show, where we talk Taekwondo all day, every day. My name is Teresa Stanley. I'm a 6th-degree black belt, and I'm here with Grandmaster Craig Stanley, the founder of the Comdo Project and one of the very world-renowned people in Taekwondo technique, according to the general. So we are here today to talk about, I would say, one of the trickiest turns or ways to turn in our patterns, and the one that people get very wrong all the time. So we're going to just take a few minutes to discuss and give you some pointers on how to do this more correctly.
Well, it's called half step turn, and there's a couple ways to do it. One's to the center line, the solar plexus line, and one is to the opposite shoulder line. And in pattern, the one to the opposite shoulder line is never done. Okay, so we're only going to do the half step turn to the center line, and it's introduced to students in the pattern Do-San. So quite early on in your martial arts journey in Taekwondo. It does come back though in many other patterns, all the way up into the black belt patterns. And then of course there's many other ways to turn as well. But we're going to do the half step turn, and we're going to use two lines on the floor here to demonstrate exactly how it works. And we're going to use the pattern Do-San from move number 2 to move number 3. So a block punch, and then we do a half step turn to get to the other side to do the next block. What we're going to explain is how to move the feet. And going back to one of our earlier videos, you're going to have to remember that a moving foot is supposed to go within half a shoulder width distance of your stationary foot, unless told otherwise. For instance, at the end of Do-San, you don't do that. You put your feet right together from your knife hand strike.
In the encyclopedia, it indicates feet come right together.
Yes, it's exactly. Written. Yeah, that's the way you're supposed to do it, because you're told differently. So you don't bring them, half a shoulder width distance and then step out to your last move, the knife hand strike. That's an exception because you're told to do it that way. The half step turn, your initial step is not half a shoulder width distance from your stationary foot. That's the foot that actually becomes the stationary foot when you move the other foot, your back foot. And that's the one that you're going to move to within half a shoulder width distance. So first I'm going to tell you the rules on how to do it, and then we're going to show you exactly how it works. So first of all, the foot you're going to be moving, the front foot, you pull it back the length of your foot. Okay. But at the same time, you step into the center, the solar plexus line, the length of your foot back to that spot. You'll see it much clearer on the floor when we show that to you. You place your foot down at that point at a 25-degree angle, very much like the front leg on a rear foot stance. The reason for that, General Choi explained that your opponent that you just dealt with, you just blocked and punched them, and now you're going to turn around, you're going to turn your back on them. You got to make sure that they're done. So that 25-degree turn is still protecting your front knee, just like it would in a rear foot stance. Now, it happens quick and you realize that that opponent is finished. So once you touch down at 25 degrees, you almost immediately can pivot and turn it. And that's when you'll bring your other foot, you'll drag it in to half a shoulder width distance of that pivoting foot, which is now your stationary foot. And then that back foot, which you've pulled in, you now step out to your new stance, executing the next block, or the next technique, which is a block. All right, so let's show the foot action on the floor. So put your heel on this line, so move forward. There we go. So this line is the solar plexus line, the center line, as many people call it. We're going to move the foot back the length of her foot. That's what this line represents here. And at the same time, turn it into 25 degrees. So you're not going to pull it back and then turn it. You're going to actually pull and touch. Bang. There's your 25 degrees. Now, two things are going to happen at the same time. She's going to rotate that foot and pull this foot to within half a shoulder width distance. Now, I'm going to move over here. She steps out to her new stance, executing the high outer forearm block. And you'll notice that this solar plexus line is now her shoulder line on her left side. So you've actually shifted your entire position over. Good, come on back. So that is the half-step turn. And what probably the two biggest errors or the two biggest mistakes that people do with this is that when they step across, because they know, most people know you got to step across, they step across to the opposite shoulder line.
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, most people don't understand what angle their foot should be at, and they turn it 90 degrees to the side. Well, if you think about that, if you've got an opponent here that you're still not quite sure about, and I turn my leg totally sideways to them, 90 degrees, that really exposes my knee to a counterattack from that person. And that's why we put it at 25 degrees, just to protect in case they attack my knee, it's still somewhat protected. If I turn it too far, it's extremely exposed and vulnerable to severe damage if they strike us. Now, again, in the pattern, Dosan, that reason for that is just to make sure that person is done. And in the pattern, that person is done, they're finished, we punch them and they're gone. So we can touch down for safety, but then turn and continue to do and deal with the next person, which is on this side of us over here. So that's a half-step turn. When you do it, it's done smoothly. So there's no pausing, there's no hesitation. You don't leave that foot at 25 degrees for a second or two. It's literally touch and turn very quickly. The whole action is done without hesitation.
These notes from the journal is what we call them in the Comdo app. You'll have access to those things, but they're things that were kind of picked up over the 29 seminars that you've done. And then obviously with looking through the encyclopedia and extrapolating the notes within the encyclopedia as well. So it's that deep study.
Well, one thing in the encyclopedia, the condensed encyclopedia, you'll notice that when they do any kind of a foot motion, they have a little line, a little hook drawing.
Oh, yeah.
And that just, what they're indicating is this foot's got to move. But a lot of people interpret that as you just move it a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not really what it is meant to say. There's no measurements or distances
it's a 2D,
in there.
It's a 2D arrow, so it doesn't really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They probably should have drawn it a little bit bigger, but they didn't. They just said, hey, move your foot. And then, I mean, your instructor is supposed to tell you how much you move your foot, right? The encyclopedia is a great reference. It's a great guide. It's written down so we know what's supposed to go on, but you also have to understand the full context of the moves. And that little twirl is just a little twirl that's saying you're going to be moving this foot.
Right.
It doesn't say how much. There's no measurement of it.
Right. Which is, again, notes from the general. Totally why we included that as part of your study tool and, to support your instruction from actual training in the dojo. So awesome. Well, thanks for watching that today, guys. Hopefully that was helpful. It is something that's very basic. And I know for me as an instructor and actually as a judge, when I'm judging at tournaments, that is something where I'm like, okay, whew, if it's really close, especially in like Quebec when it's like really good black belts and somebody messes up their half-step turn, I'm like, oh, okay, there we go. Points over here. So don't take this one, fix it. Especially, I always say like the black belts doing gay back. That one, I see it all the time firsthand. So fix that one. It's right at the end of the pattern and you can see it. So thanks for joining us today on the Comdo Show. Make sure to subscribe, to follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and be on the lookout for our new app that's launching at the end of June 2026. We will see you on the next episode.
Taekwondo.